Now, Saudi Arabia is hosting a high-level summit with Arab and Muslim leaders and other global figures, including the Nigerian President Bola Tinubu, to address Israel's ongoing action in the Palestinian territories and Lebanon. They want an immediate end to Israel's military action. But despite previous calls for a ceasefire, there's been no let-up in the conflict. And in fact, Israel has taken its fight beyond Hamas to Hezbollah, the Houthis, and Iran. Overshadowing this conference are two things: Iran's next move and the election of Donald Trump for a second term. He's popular with the Saudis, but he's also a firm supporter of Israel and hawkish when it comes to Iran. The Islamic Republic has vowed to hit back at Israel for its missile attack 2 weeks ago, the latest in a tit-for-tat exchange. So, with Donald Trump's presidency looming over the region, what message is the summit aiming to send out to the world? Well, for more on this, I'm joined now in the studio by the head of the Palestinian community here in Abuja, Ramzi Abu Ibrahim, and by the international political analyst and former Nigerian diplomat who served in many countries in Africa, Europe, and the Americas, Ambassador Joe Keshi. Thank you very much indeed to both of you for coming in. Let me come to you, Mr. Yeah, it's lovely to have you here. Let me come to you, Mr. Ibrahim, first. Would we be right to express a note of weariness at this meeting and what is likely, or rather not likely, to be achieved there? Because, I mean, this is round 2 of a summit they held exactly a year ago to try and press for a halt to the fighting in Gaza. But, of course, that failed to achieve anything.
Thank you for having us today. We wish, as a single Palestinians who live in Gaza or West Bank or anywhere in the world, this war to get an end. We wish from our brothers, the Arabs, and who are in the summit, to take real action to stop the war. Today is 401 in this war. The killing beyond 50,000, injuring beyond 120,000, 15,000 are missing, destruction every single hour, whether in the north part of Gaza, which is more than 39 days. Who left in the north part of Gaza is just 300,000 out of the original of 1,250,000. 300,000, they are misplaced. They have nowhere to go. The recent one today in the area of Mashro Betlahia, a couple of people surrounding in the market looking for what to eat, where to buy. Just a helicopter attack and kill everyone, more than 25. We have been seeing killing every single hour. And exactly what is happening in Gaza is going to West Bank, is going to Lebanon as all. The question is, Netanyahu and his government, is it not enough for them on this bloodshed?
Well, the question can also be asked, and I'll come to you in a minute, Ambassador Keshi. The question can also be asked, what about the Arab?
I'm coming.
The Arab leaders.
We are praying, and we are hoping, and we are urging the Arab leaders to take a serious action today before tomorrow, and to tell them to wake up is enough. And they can do that. We remember King Faisal when he stopped the oil, 1973, and he stopped the war. So it's an easy. The Arabs can do that. We are praying.
But they need the political will, don't they, Ambassador Joe Keshi? Because in addition to the very salient points that Mr. Ibrahim is making, of course, overshadowing all this is the fact that the United States is a very powerful presence in the Middle East. And there's about to be a new president in the White House, Donald Trump. He's a friend of Israel, and all the assessments are that he's likely to give Israel a freer hand. It's possible that he could be comfortable with Iran being hit by Israeli missiles in terms of its oil and nuclear facilities, which are both things that the Biden administration said were off limits. So, I mean, what are your thoughts on that?
My thoughts are your thoughts, you know. Charles, let me remind you that when this crisis started, I think I know I've been your guest, and my position has been that the Arab leaders collectively have failed the Palestinians. There's no doubt about that in my mind. They failed the Palestinians in so many ways. And as you rightly pointed out, they have the means to force a settlement much earlier than now.
So why do you think they're not doing that?
Number one, I think they are too comfortable in their luxurious position to want to bother themselves about what's going on in Gaza. Because if they have shown interest from the beginning, when this war started, and they have stepped in, and they compelled Israel one way or the other. And I mean, he gave an example of what happened a couple of years ago. And truly, if they had held the world to ransom by saying, no more supply, you know, from that part of the world, I think somebody would have probably persuaded Netanyahu to come to his, to his senses. They did not mobilize their military. They did not even threaten to use their military. They just went completely silent and occasionally making statements. And today, at the conference, from the little we've heard so far, Charles, nothing new was said today at the conference. It's a rehash of what we heard. We want a two-state solution. We've been saying this for many years. We want peace in the... We've been saying that. Israel is not listening. So if Saudi Arabia in particular is preparing itself for the arrival of Donald Trump, again at the expense of the Palestinians, it's very unfortunate. They need to come up with something concrete.
Right.
That will ensure that beginning from this summit, there's a clear path towards a peaceful agreement to end the crisis. But look, this conference is going on, and as he rightly said, Israel has bombed and killed. He said 25, but I think it's almost 30 people were killed in that house that were bombed today. They struck Lebanon again today. It's unending. You've killed 50,000 people for 1,700 or something like that. I mean,
1,200.
200. I don't know how the world sleeps with this crisis in the Middle East.
Well, let me come to you, Mr. Ibrahim, and on the question of Donald Trump. I don't know what your perception is of the Biden administration, because obviously a lot of Arab Americans were very angry with the Biden administration. They voted against Kamala Harris as a result. Are you more optimistic with Donald Trump coming in?
Well, Democrat lost the election because of Gaza war. Everyone knows.
Possibly, yes.
Everyone knows. And not only because of Gaza war. Believe me, after October 7, every single American has understood he's paying a tax. His tax payee is going to Israel. For what reason? Killing children. Killing more and more innocent. Destruction houses. I will tell you something in addition to what my brother says. Because of 1,200, they claim Palestinians kill. Do you know Hannibal law in the Israeli army, the occupation army? Hannibal law gives the right to every single Israeli soldier to kill if they get to know in this room, in the settlement where the Palestinians enter. And believe me, that settlement's near Gaza. According to international law, it's belong to Gaza land if we are coming to the peace agreement and second and two-state solution. If we are looking at two-state solution, Gaza beyond the border of where it is today, they're supposed to live the land which is being occupied 1967, right? All the settlements surrounding Gaza is belong to that land. That is one. Second, Hannibal law. When the soldiers came after waking up, after 4 hours of the demonstration by the Palestinians in that territory, and capturing all the soldiers and taking them to Gaza as hostages, Israel wake up to find out that some of the Palestinians are in the settlements. So the law says you use helicopter, you use tanks, you use anything, kill even within the Israeli civilians. So far there's an enemy within them, kill everyone. Every single body was killed in that day. On that 1,200 was bombed.
Right.
How did you bomb it?
Well,
Is
I
right
mean,
here.
I don't mean to interrupt
I'm
you.
coming to Trump.
Right.
You know, I just wanted to
Sure, I understand that.
give alignment on
Yeah.
this point alone. Trump, we know Trump is a businessman. Everyone knows that. We will wait for his action. He's a friend to Israel, but he's his friend to his pocket more than Israel.
But he's also a friend to Saudi Arabia.
He look at Saudi as they have money. I need to get their money. He's acting as a normal businessman in his own political relationship with the world. So we wait for him.
Right.
I believe, my own belief, he will end the war.
Right. Okay. Well, let me come to you, Ambassador Joe Keshi, because just following up on what Mr. Ibrahim was saying, the Arab countries at that summit remember the Abraham Accord, which President Trump brokered and which saw Bahrain, UAE, Morocco, Sudan all establish full diplomatic relations with Israel. And as Mr. Ibrahim said, he's seen as a deal maker. And, you know, given that, are you hopeful that he might succeed in restraining Israel? Or is there no point in having full diplomatic relations with Israel, like those countries, if it's showing absolutely no effect in restraining Israel's actions?
I think that agreement was, as I said, was part of the betrayal of the Palestinian cause. If they were interested in the cause of the Palestinians, there should have been a clause in that agreement of the Abraham Accord that in normalizing relationship with Israel by all these Arab countries, the state of Palestine must be guaranteed. That was not done. And that's the big failure. And possibly why we are where we are today. Yes, Trump is coming and everybody is hopeful that he will do some big magic and things like that and so on. But when you look at the way Netanyahu is in a very exhilarating position, you know, the way he's rejoicing. And look, the first action he took, the results were coming in. He sacked his Minister of Defense.
Thank you.
Who has been insisting that, look, we've done everything militarily. It's time to make peace. This guy do not want to make peace because he wants a direct confrontation with Iran. And I think one of those things that the Saudis are also trying to do is to maybe persuade Iran not to do anything stupid at this time.
Well, Iran is at this summit.
At this summit, yes.
Yeah,
Knowing
and
fully well.
the Saudis have sent a top military official to Tehran.
Knowing fully well that Donald Trump will not hold back Israel the way Biden tried to, you know, advise them not to hit some critical infrastructure, including their nuclear program. So we just wait, you know, we just wait to see. Look, I think everybody wants peace in that part of the world. The Palestinians have suffered enough. And it's time to find, if it's going to bring peace, but it must be a fair deal. The deal that was done the last time was not fair to the Palestinians. The Arabs just abandoned the Palestinians and went into making their own deal. But they've seen the futility of it all today.
But, I mean, Mr. Ibrahim, the summit in Saudi Arabia is talking about a new alliance. Those are their words, a new alliance to establish a Palestinian state. And I wonder if that suggests that Arab and other Muslim countries until now have not been sufficiently united, and that by being more cohesive, that might make a difference. I mean, many of those countries distrust each other. I mean, the Iranians and the Saudis absolutely hate each other. There is a very temporary, very, if you like, tentative rapprochement between Saudi Arabia and Iran at the moment, isn't there? And that's at the heart of the problem that the Palestinians have.
My
a
brother,
lack of unity.
My brother, continue what His Excellency says. Abraham Accord came. The Palestinians felt, we are alone. We have nothing to do. If that accord is going to happen, the whole struggle since 76 years is going to vanish. And why Abraham Accord came? Not only because of the Gulf and the Saudis. Remember, Kushner was running all the Middle East to make Gaza a new Singapore in the Middle East. Why? The quantity of gas discovered in Gaza water is enough to satisfy the whole Europe and leave Russia alone. So they wanted the oil in Gaza. That is one. The second plan of the Israeli government, Ben Gurion Canal, to cancel the Egyptian canal. The second part of
the Suez Canal.
Yeah, Suez Canal. The Red Sea to the north part of Gaza. That is why the Israeli army is trying to finish up the northern part of Gaza. So it's not matter only of political.
Well, I mean, we don't have any evidence to support that, but I mean, continue making your point.
He mentioned many times, we can make Gaza to be Singapore. That is Kushner. Why today he's not in the administration? And why today he's out of the picture, of the American picture? Because Trump has a different plan. We will look at Trump and we will see what he's going to do with the region and the Arabs.
Right. Of course, Ambassador Keshi, the ultimate prize, and I think you hinted at that earlier, would be a Saudi-Israel deal. But that can only be possible because the Saudis have made that clear when there is a clear path to a two-state solution.
Absolutely.
Something that is completely opposed by the Netanyahu government and the right-wingers in that Israeli government. So given that it's hard to see how that will get back on track, do you suspect that the final communique from the summit will basically take us nowhere, just be something of a fudge?
I think from what we've heard so far about the summit, I just think that Saudi Arabia is pursuing its own interests by calling this summit at the same time to position himself as the leader of the Arab world. It has over time displaced Egypt because of its oil power, the wealth at its disposal, and the rest of it. So he's positioning himself to be the leader, so anybody who wants to make a deal would have to talk to Saudi Arabia at the end of the day. But look, as I said at the beginning of this program, so far, at least today, throughout the whole meeting, nothing new has come up. It's a rehash of the same old things that we've been saying. A two-state solution, East Jerusalem. I think the only word I heard today that I've been searching whether Saudi Arabia had used it in the past was the word genocide. I might be wrong. Maybe they have used it in the past. I wasn't aware of that. But today, in the communique, I mean, in some of the statement made by by TBS from Saudi Arabia, he was actually very firm on that this genocide needs to end. But my concern is, if they had insisted on doing this from day one, after the first few weeks, and they had come up with strategic plans and proposals, as of today, I mean, at this meeting, there's completely nothing new on the table that you can hold on to and say, well, this is it. this might be able to end
it is
the
a bit
war.
disheartening, isn't
It's
it?
very disheartening. Nothing concrete to say this will, and then you begin to wonder why they're wasting everybody's time, as far as I'm concerned.
Right. I understand, Mr. Ibrahim, that in the last few weeks of the Joe Biden presidency, the Americans are trying to put the squeeze on Hamas, particularly to try and reach a ceasefire deal. But we're also hearing reports that Hamas are being kicked out of Qatar, which would almost certainly make them feel more isolated and perhaps less likely to want to reach a ceasefire deal. What are your thoughts on that?
Let me just.
We've got about a minute or so left, so if you keep it
correct you
brief.
on this.
Yeah.
The statement was made by the Foreign Ministry of Qatar. Stop the intervene between Israel and Palestinians. No more, because the negotiation is not getting to nowhere.
Right.
Any time is getting to result, Benjamin Netanyahu will call his team and stand up and blow another story. The Israelis, and I believe Netanyahu want to remain in his seat till how much days can stay on his life as Prime Minister. He want war and war and war to continue sitting.
Right.
That's all.
Well, I mean, on that note, I'm going to have to end the program because we're out of time. I do appreciate having you here. And of course, Ambassador, thank you very much indeed. Ramzi Abu Ibrahim is the head of the Palestinian community here in Abuja. And of course, Ambassador Joe Keshi is an international political analyst and former Nigerian diplomat who served in many countries in Africa, Europe, and the Americas. And just a quick note there that we try to balance things here on Arise News. So if members of the Israeli community here in Nigeria are keen to come and talk to us, they're quite welcome to do so. That's it for this edition of Arise Prime Time. Join us again tomorrow. From me and the entire team here in Abuja, bye-bye, and thank you for watching.